This video, we're going to talk about how to study vocab and how not to lose it. And you can already see that one way is by using it. And I really can't underestimate how important that is, because what people like to do is to go into their vocab caves. And in their vocab caves, they're really intense and they get into the words. And then all of a sudden, poof, vocab cave has disappeared and life begins. And we go about life, and then maybe 24, 48 hours later, we go back in a vocab cave and realize, wow, we forgot quite a lot, but we're going to be really, really intense again and hopefully remember as much, if not more. Not very effective. The idea is you want to use it or you're going to lose it. So daily activities. What do I mean by that? You're going to have a vocabulary activity? No. What I mean is you're going to try to interweave or intersperse vocab in your daily activities. Sometimes you can do this in jest with people and use words to describe a situation. If you find that too embarrassing, and I guess most people would, inside, in your head, that is, when you're walking down the street, look around you. Describe buildings as ornate and embellished, or austere, if that's applicable. Or describe people around you. Oh, there goes a hirsute, Harry. That means Harry in person, though hirsute's not necessarily the most typical of GRE vocabs, though there are a lot of hirsute people. But the idea is, if there's a GRE adjective that you know, there's probably a person in your vicinity who more or less you can use that word on. So the idea is these words aren't just part of your cave or wherever you happen to study, in that one coffee shop or in that one desk in your bedroom, but it's something that you integrate, interweave into your daily activities. Next, you're going to think I'm crazy watching television. And I would be crazy if I just said, hey, watch TV and you will learn vocab. Obviously, not going to happen. What I mean by watching TV is that there are some intelligent shows with intelligent writers. Not necessarily boring shows, but dramas typically on HBO or AMC is another great network. And so if you are going to watch TV, not that I recommend, start watching TV now, if you don't usually watch TV, but if you are going to watch TV, watch those shows, more mature shows. I mean, Breaking Bad to an extent, Mad Men. I mean, they're good writers. And I've oftentimes sat in front of the shows and go, oh, look, what a nice GRE word that Don Draper threaded there. So, again, don't overdo this, but know that there's a difference between, watching your usual hackneyed sitcom and watching something where they put a little bit more into the writing. Okay, what else? Well, again, it really depends on your proclivities, your predilections, what you like to do. But if you go online and you're talking with people, and you can start trying to have erudite conversations, or if you feel a little bit weird just putting yourself out there online, between friends as well. That is, pepper your writing with GRE words and try to write about things intelligently. Maybe you can tweet using GRE words, or maybe your Facebook update can subtly throw in a GRE word without sounding too ridiculous. But the idea is that you're really using these words in any way that you can think of. And of course, I'm just thinking of my own life or thinking generically. You know yourself best, and you can probably think of ways where you can thread in GRE words, whether these are erudite conversations online or just in your daily activities. Finally, in terms of use it or lose it, there's the idea of creative stories. Again, this doesn't apply to everyone. Some people just don't like writing. But if you like writing, then give yourself 10 minutes and write a story. See if you can cover an entire page. And these stories can be silly. No one's going to read them, but have fun doing it. The point of their story, though, is that you are going to include GRE words that you've learned in the last few days without, this is important, because I can imagine some people say, I'll just look at the list of words and see, yes, I'll use that word. No, do not look at the list, or you shouldn't be using a list anyway, but the flashcards or wherever you're getting your vocab from. Don't look at that. Just off the top of your head. And you're going to say, but that's hard. I don't like that. It makes me feel uncomfortable. That's the point. That's when you're learning, when you really have to struggle to think of what that word is. And if you're even using it correctly, that's, of course, after you write your wonderful creative story, something you can actually check on the dictionary. But the point is you're recalling the words from your head. You're not 100% sure, but now that you're trying to use them, and even if you're wrong, once you've used them, you'll realize, hey, now I know this word a lot more better because I've actually looked it up and I feel more confident. Versus, again, just looking at a list and copying the word over to your story. Don't do that. Okay, we're not done yet, though. It's not just use it or lose it, but it's this idea of repetition. So I also have here not just the power of repetition, but don't bite off more than you can chew. So these are, you can say, two sides of the same coin. The idea is don't go in your cave with the first one every day, once a day, or every other day, hoping that you're going to learn. And at the same time, don't just go into that cave thinking, oh, I'm going to learn 100 words. And you learn those 100 words for about 15 minutes, and then an hour later, you maybe know about 30 of those words. So we want to take it little pieces at a time, a lot of repetition. So one way is not to think of vocabulary as a big chunk of the day. And of course, this goes back to the other screen where we were talking about integrating words into your daily activities. When you're walking down the street, just in your little interior monologue you have going in your head, start bringing some GRE words in there, especially ones that you've learned. Now, this is more specific to the idea of flashcards. If you're waiting somewhere, or maybe you have a smartphone with GRE words on them, look at that. Look at those words. While you have a dead minute or even a dead 20 seconds, and I'm not endorsing driving while looking at your smartphone thinking, wow, I'm learning so much GRE vocabulary. Please do not do any of this while driving in terms of looking at flashcards or smartphones. Though, while driving, as long as you're paying attention, you can describe the angry driver behind you as truculent, contentious, etc. But here the point is, try as much as possible during those downtimes to whip out your flashcards or smartphones and study vocabulary. And then another good idea is revisiting what you've learned 90 minutes after you're studying it. Studies show that, when I say studies show, I'm kind of jesting, but from research I've done in psychology, there is definitely a leveling off of knowledge, meaning that you know about 70% of what you learn right after you learn it. I mean, that's if you study 50 words, you can remember about 35, 40 of them. But about an hour and a half later, researchers have found that suddenly things just disappear, and what you had so clearly in your mind only an hour and a half ago suddenly feels really tenuous and weak. And so they say, if you study, and let's say you study 20 words, about 90 minutes later, come back just really quickly. Even if it's 2 or 3 minutes, just go through those words again. See if you remember them. And what you're doing is you're strengthening neural connections. And also, another good little trick is right before you go to bed, study the words. Or right when you wake up in the morning, study the words first thing. It's almost as though you're dreaming when you're at night, when you're dreaming, you're almost learning these words. But of course, you're probably not dreaming in vocab. It's just the way the brain works is right before you go to bed and right when you wake up. If you learn something, it's more likely to stick. And again, if you struggle, if you keep forgetting words for every 100 you learn, but 2 days later you remember only 20, bite-sized pieces. Learn 15 to 20 words at a time. Get strong with those words and then build off of those words. It's a much better way than cramming. Because remember, GRE is not a cramming test. It's testing your lifelong vocabulary. Unfortunately for you, lifelong development may only be 3 weeks, maybe 2 or 3 months. But at the same time, don't try to cram it all in one day.